Hello. Yeah. Okay. Respected Maulana Azad Chair, Professor Syed Imtiaz Hasnain, our today's guest, key speaker, Professor Farhat Hassan, Professor Department of History, University of Delhi, Professor Rafila Azmi, Head Department of History, Professor Salma Faruqi, who is going to chair this session. She's Director, SK Sherwani Center for Deccan Studies. Professor Danish Moin, Professor Department of History, and our OSG ma'am, Professor Shugupta ma'am, other senior faculty members from other departments, my colleagues, students, Assalamu alaikum. As you know that we assembled here for this very important lecture. We have been joined by Professor Farhat Hassan. In our past, we have also invited him. I, on behalf of Department of History and Maulana Azad Chair, welcome Professor Farhat Hassan. And I also want to thank him for giving us his time, knowing it well that he's very much busy in Hyderabad. He has a tight schedule ahead, but still he agreed. In past, he also agreed. It is His Highness. I also want to thank Professor Salma Faruqi, who also agreed to chair this session. I welcome you, ma'am, and also I thank you. There are other, faculty members, senior faculty members from Political Science Department, from the administration. Sajjad Sahab is always with us. He has also joined us. Mehraj Sahab is with us. I, from the bottom of my heart, welcome you all. As you know that from time to time we are celebrating Azad and his legacy. In this regard, our university is continuously conducting such programs where we discuss Azad and his many aspects related to his life. In this regard, our university is organizing a special lecture every year. And I still remember that in our past, we had eminent scholars like Professor Muzammil, Professor Rizwan Kaisar, my teacher. And last year, we have Shalil Mishra from University of Delhi, who spoke on Azad and on his life. Very recently, Azad Chair, Maulana Azad Chair, I guess last year in August, have conducted a very interesting program in which they have invited Professor S. Irfan Habib, who recently, I guess in 2023, wrote a book on Maulana Azad. He was also invited, not only that, but his book was discussed, and in the discussion there were other scholars from different universities. To continue this legacy this year, Department of History and Maulana Azad Chair jointly requested Professor Farhat Hassan to spoke on Maulana Azad, as all of us are aware that this university is named on this freedom fighter and great intellectual. So to move forward, I would like to request our technician team to play University Tarana. Yeah.
ये बाबे शहरे इल्म है उर्दू ज़बान का, ये बाबे शहरे इल्म है سفر یہاں سے کرے آسمان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. علم و کمال فضل و شعر و شعور تک پھیلی ہے دل نواز مہک دور دور تک. ملتا یہاں نصاب ہے سارے جہان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. ہر نقش و رنگ و بو سے کرو اپنی گفتگو. آزاد درس گاہ کی ہے یہ بھی جستجو. سب فاصلہ مٹاتے چلو درمیان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. غرب و جنوب سے ہو کے شرق و شمال سے آگے بڑھو خیال ملا دو خیال سے. چرچا ہو کائنات میں ہندوستان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. فصل صدا بہار سے بستی بسی رہے. مل کر دعا کرو کہ یہ کھیتی ہری رہے. سایہ رہے سروں پہ کسی سائبان کا. آؤ سفر یہاں سے کرے آسمان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا. یہ باب شہر علم ہے اردو زبان کا.
This University Tarana has been written by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Syed Ainul Hasan sir. Now I request Professor Rafiullah Azmi to introduce the theme of this lecture. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Professor Imtiaz Hasnain, Maulana Azad Chair, Professor Farhat Hassan Saab, a speaker of today's program, Professor Salma Farooqi Sahiba, who is presiding the session today, and Professor Danish Moeen, my colleague, Department of History, Professor Pravesh Khande, and Professor Shagufta Shaheen Sahiba, OSD1, and Professor Afroz Alam, Professor Amina, and other professors and colleagues and students. Assalamu alaikum to you all. As you know, we are here assembled to listen Professor Farhat Hassan on a topic which is the political overtones of religious thoughts of Abul Kalam Azad. I will not take much time because we have to finish the program by 3:45. There's another program after that. Besides that also, because I wish that the speaker should get more time. But I will just briefly say that if you try to decode what Maulana Azad was writing, giving speeches, what were his thoughts at that point of time, you'll find two important concerns which were very perennial, which was constantly found in almost all speeches, all concerns. That was one, that before the partition of India took place, and before that happened, from 1939 onward, situation was getting concerned, very worst. And then there was a question of Muslim issues. And there was already demand by the Muslim League and all that. We know the circumstances, what has happened. Then Maulana was trying to somehow make effort to prevent that catastrophe should not happen. Secondly, intertwined with this was, in my understanding, limited understanding, because I'm not a student of this Indian history somehow. So second was that he was always and constantly educating, espousing the cause of the Indian Muslims' concerns. What were the concerns? That there was a growing feeling among the Muslims that when we will get independence, then there might be not good future for us, because there will be rule of majority, where numbers will matter, and a lot of issues were there. And many of you must be knowing that what was happening in that backdrop. So his efforts were that concerns of the Muslims should be addressed, so that they get confidence that once India get freedoms, then we will be able to live with a life of dignity, respect, and as equal citizen of this country. That was the main concern, I believe. And that was very, very closely intertwined with the fact that if that is going to happen, if Indian Muslims are going to be assured of that they will get a good place in the future of India, when India is able to achieve independence and constitution is made, then perhaps that will be able to prevent this impending danger of the partition of India. But unfortunately, he failed somehow on both the fronts. Partition of India became a fact. India was partitions. Secondly, the kind of efforts he was making, he was trying to extract resolutions, assurances from the Indian National Congress that Indian Muslims should be assured if the constitution will be made, then there should be a safeguard and their rights will be protected. Indian Muslims will be free to determine their own destiny, to pursue their own cultural, religious rights, etc., etc., etc. He was trying to get. But due to very ambivalent stand of Indian National Congress, top leadership of Indian National Congress was not forthcoming, despite the Maulana's efforts. So that has happened. Though forced partitions, Indian Constitution was made, though we know that Indian Constitution in the given situation is the best constitutions, the kind of diversity India is having. There is a lot of assurance in fundamental rights given to Indian Muslims. But even then, it is said that somehow that Maulana was not able to educate as strongly as Ambedkar succeeded to get the benefit for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. That is a kind of debate going on in Indian history. What I am trying to say that Maulana's ideas, which was trying to, another plank of Maulana was that Hindu-Muslim unity. He was also talking about that how Indian Muslims should be loyal to the nations. For all these purposes, he was trying to use Islamic history, Islamic teachings to justify or to espouse his own political thoughts and ideas. He was trying to spin, give a religious color to that, so that Indian Muslims get convinced with these kind of things. So that was the main issues in this context. So Maulana Azad was trying to do, unfortunately, the issues, the concerns, the kind of dilemma which were raised by Maulana Azad are still before us. The kind of India, the idea of India which was envisaged by makers of modern India is under the stress, under the onslaught. We all must be knowing that in the contemporary times, what kind of challenges are before the Indian Muslims, ranging from the physical security, cultural, religious rights, economic issues, political empowerment efforts, all kind of things are going on. In that context, still Maulana Azad ideas, I think though he failed in that effort, in my opinion, but the ideas are still relevant, that how to go about, how to take the issues forward. With these brief remarks, preface and context, I stop here. But before giving my mic to Parvez, I wish to say that I am really very delighted and very, very thankful to Professor Farhat Hassan for accepting our invitations. We were trying to contact him when I made initial contact with him. I was thinking to invite him for a seminar which we are going to organize on September, first week of September. Then he told me that he's already coming. He has a program to come for these programs, which is going to start from tomorrow onward. So, sir, we are very honored and we feel very, very gratifying that you accepted our invitations. Not only that you accepted to speak today, but he was kind enough and generous enough that he accepted to give another lectures that will be scheduled, that has been scheduled on 29th, day after tomorrow. We'll be speaking in the Department of History buildings that way. So we are really grateful to you. With these brief remarks, I hand over to Pravesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I have been specially instructed by my colleagues that do not take too much time, and we have to give much time to Professor Farhat Hassan, and making him available, that too in Hyderabad, is very difficult, but still is with us. Thank you, sir. Before I request Professor Farhat Hassan, I would like to request Professor Saeed Imtiaz Hassan Saab to introduce our speaker. Yeah.
ये बोल लेंगे ना
इसके बाद आप बात करेंगे। Good afternoon to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. I stand here as a chair professor of Maulana Azad at MANUU, and it's my honor to welcome the distinguished speaker, Professor Farhat Hassan, who is a professor of medieval and early modern South Asian history at the Department of History in University of Delhi. He earned his doctoral degree from Cambridge University and published 3 books, all published by the Cambridge University Press. His interest in Indian politics, I'll listen to the chair, not to you. So his interest lies in the Indo-Muslim politics and culture in the colonial period. And I also respect his concern that I should be brief, though I did not get any kind of indication from the chair. I'll stop here by saying that we are thankful to you for being here. Thank you very much.
Sir, now stage is yours. Yeah,
MC on होगा सर ये
Well, I guess I should begin by thanking the organizers of this event, in particular Professors Imtiaz Osnan and Professor Rafiullah Azmi, for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to share my very tentative and vague formulations on Azad. Since we are short of time, I will be very specific in terms of certain issues about Azad that have interested me. But I think one thing that I noticed was that it took a long time for scholars to notice Azad. I mean, he was visually everywhere, so that in the albums of the Indian national movement, you would often see Azad along with Nehru and Gandhi. But for a very long time, there was very little effort to engage with his political or religious thought. One reason, I guess, for this was because he, along with several other Muslim politicians who were with the Congress, we call them Congress Muslims or nationalist Muslims, was understood or perceived as dependent intellectuals, as extensions of Nehru and Gandhi. And the idea was that if you knew Gandhi and if you read Gandhi, you read Azad too. Or if you read Nehru, you understood Azad too. So that they were seen as what we term as mimetic individuals, individuals whose existence dependent on the nationalist leadership. And so that most studies on political thought focused on Azad, on Nehru and Gandhi, and didn't feel the need to engage with Azad. When it came to Muslim political thought too, the emphasis somehow centered on Sir Syed Ahmad Khan or Muhammad Iqbal, and Azad was ignored once again. And this is not the plight that was typical to Azad. This is something that is common to all nationalist Muslims for a very long time, those who were associated with the Congress. Things did begin to change, and in the last couple of decades, there have been some very important studies on Azad. Some of them have spoken here, people like Yasir Fan Habib and Rizwan Qaisar, among others. And one thing that has happened, owing to the effort of these historians, you can stop me when I exceed the time. One of the interesting things that has happened is that Azad has been reinstated as an autonomous thinker, as a thinker who had a distinct personality of his own, and whose political thought was certainly very divergent from the thought of both Gandhi and Nehru. if we have time, we'll come to this issue in a minute. There is also the realization that that Azad needs to be studied on his own terms, and not as not as a dependent politician, dependent on the nationalist figures like Nehru and Gandhi. It would be fair to argue that as a politician, perhaps, Azad had a very limited base. But this can't be said of all Congress Muslim politicians. I mean, this can't be said of something like Abdul Ghaffar Khan, for example. He was firmly rooted in regional politics. This can't be said of Sheikh Abdullah. But all these Muslim thinkers who were very closely associated with the national movement have been peripheralized in much of the nationalist historiography. And this is an important lacuna, this is an important omission that has been corrected in the last couple of decades, owing thankfully to the efforts of historians like Irfan Habib and Rizwan Qaisar, among others. But more recently, in the last year or so, three important interventions have come up in terms of providing new understanding on Azad. And if we have time, those are the interventions that I would like to focus on here. One is an argument that positions his view on history as central to understanding his political and religious thought. This is most forcefully been argued by Muzaffar Alam, among others. But there's a view that he had a particular understanding of India's past, and that perception of history explains the evolution of his political and religious thought. The other argument that has come up is his ability to appropriate Islamic categories for purposes of nationalist mobilization and anti-colonial resistance. This is an argument that has been most forcefully made by Aisha Jalal. If we have time, we'll take up the concepts. But this is something that Gandhi also did. Gandhi appropriated categories from the Hindu tradition, categories of karma, categories of sannyas, categories of ahimsa, and cleverly used them to develop anti-colonial resistance, to develop new formulations of Indian nationalism. But Azad did too, and somehow we have not taken that into account, appropriating categories of Islam to develop a movement against colonialism, to articulate new varieties of nationalism. The third is that we should also understand that Azad is not an isolated individual. He's an autonomous scholar for sure, but his work is in conversation with distinctive intellectual arguments, in distinctive intellectual trends that were emerging in the course of the Indian national movement. And the formulations of Azad actually lead to the development of what has been termed as the third space. We'll see what we mean by third space. But this is an argument that has come up in what I consider to be an extremely important work by Amar Sohail, and it's known as the Muslim secular. So these are the three things that I want to discuss in the time that we have. And if we're short of time, we'll just end where we can. Now, Azad has a very distinctive understanding of Indian history. And he sees the flow of Indian history as motivated by three currents. The first is that there is a constant struggle between forces of tradition and change. And he has an understanding of Akbar's court. he has an understanding of Mughal court culture, in which this kind of a conflict between tradition and change, between faith and reason, aql, between ijtihad and taqleed, imitation and fresh interpretation, plays itself out. But he's also influenced by the arguments of Shah Waliullah, whose concept of ijtihad is something that he repeatedly invokes to develop his alternative formulations of Islam. The most charismatic figure that forces the interpretation is that of Sir Sayyid. There's been argument by scholars like Irfan Habib that Azad's religious thought is a natural outcome of Sir Sayyid's view on Islamic rationality. As you know, Sir Sayyid believed that religion cannot be incompatible with science. And if religion is found to be incompatible with science, that's actually a wrong understanding of faith. We have for long tended to argue that Azad also had the same perception of Islam and Islamic history, but that is not the case. In his later writings, he moves away from Sir Sayyid and makes a very radical argument, which is that, and we will look at the political implications of this argument in a minute, but he argues that religion has to be separated from science and reason. So even as he is very appreciative of ijtihad, of the forces of reason in Indian history, he also believed that the realm of religion is autonomous and needs to be kept aloof from the realm of modern science. Here he is in drastic disagreement with Sir Sayyid, because Sir Sayyid thought that there's nothing over and above science. And as he said, that if Quran is found to be in contradiction with science, this is actually a wrong interpretation of the Quran. So Quran needs to be redefined in terms of the understandings that we have acquired through modern science. Azad thought otherwise. Azad thought that the realm of faith has to be separated from the realm of science. And I think there are three issues that motivated him to come to this conclusion. The first is that he knows that just as much as science would appear to be a pursuit of truth, it is also about control and domination. So he knows he is able to relate science not only to the search or the quest for truth, but he's also able to relate it to the experience of imperial domination. And because he is very conscious of the inherent violence of what we today term as instrumental rationality that defines modern science, he is very apprehensive of faith becoming a handmaiden of science. For the articulation of ethical life, he believes, let's not talk about science, because science is not all ethics. It is actually all power, control, and domination. This is a very different understanding of the relationship between religion and science from the one advocated by Sir Sayyid and later even by Iqbal, for example. Now, this has a political objective. I don't know how much time do I have.
No, you have 20 minutes.
Okay. You see, what he's trying to argue then is that, okay, let me see if I can make it easier. Is first of all that let's keep our social, cultural experiences, our profane experiences, our interactions in the market, our cultural activities, music, art, architecture, separate from the realm of faith. Let's protect the autonomy of religion. Is this clear? So that in terms of his understanding of Indian nationalism, he has a formulation of nationalism which insists on preserving the autonomy of religion. And this is what defines what Amar Suhail terms as the Muslim secular. Muslims can be nationalists. Muslims need to be nationalists. Muslims will be nationalists, but they will not and they should not abandon their autonomous religious identity. Is this clear? There are other implications too, but let me take the other point and then we'll come back to this in a minute. But let's keep this in view for the time being. He then goes on to study or try to understand the nation. What is the Indian nation? How do we define the Indian nation? What do we mean by Indian nationalism? And there again, there are substantive differences from people like Gandhi and Nehru, particularly Gandhi. You see, for Gandhi, nationalism or Indian nation emerges from the ancient past, ancient spiritual past. So there is a level of continuity from the ancient period to the modern world that constitutes the essence of Indian nation. This ancient past has been very tolerant. It has always accepted foreigners. It has always accepted fresh ideas. But the core of Indian nation is the ancient spiritual heritage. Is this clear? Azad makes a different argument. Azad argues that Indian nation emerges out of the interaction between Hinduism and Islam. So it emerges in the medieval period. There is no Indian nation beyond this interaction. Is this clear? Huh? So what he's arguing then is Indian nation is neither Hindu nor Muslim. A problematic issue in Gandhian thought. See, because Gandhi essentially, even as he preached tolerance, believed that the core of Indian nation lies in the formulation of Brahmanical Hinduism, because it's ancient past that constitutes the Indian nation. For those who believe that he is a blind imitator of Gandhi, should know that he has profound disagreement with this formulation and believes that the Indian nation is constituted out of the dialogue, out of the conversation, out of the engagements between the world of Islam and the Indic tradition. This interaction is neither Hindu nor Muslim. It's a mixture of both. And by this is what is meant by the third space. This is neither a Hindu space. So Indian nation, the argument that the nation belongs to Hindus is false. It does not belong to the Muslims either. So the argument of people like Jinnah that the Muslims need to have a separate nation on the basis of their religion is again false, because there is no nation that is determined out of these primordial religious identities. It is religious nonetheless, but emerges out of interaction. And that is why it is the third space. Is it clear? He therefore not only moves away from both, from Gandhian formulation, but he's also moving away from Nehru's formulation of nationalism. Nehru saw nation and nationalism in terms of ideas of modern liberalism. So religion does not constitute nationalism according to Nehru. For Azad, this is crucial. This is crucial. Spiritualism or faith is crucial, but this faith is neither Hindu nor Muslim. So he moves away from Nehruvian or liberal formulations of nationalism. So he's equidistant from both Nehru and Gandhi. He disputes Nehru when he talks or when he develops a liberal framework for the formulation of nationalism. He disagrees with Gandhi when he makes the argument of the ancient origins of Indian nation. He possessed the origins of nationalism in the medieval period with the conversation between the world of Islam and Hinduism. Clearly then, this has to be a space that is equally belongs to both. Is this clear? The argument of people who thought that the origins of Indian nation go back to ancient period had that problematic issue, which was cleverly appropriated by the right-wing forces when they argued that the Indian nation is essentially Hindu, which is defined by Indian culture, and Indian culture is all about Brahmanical Hinduism. It is in an effort to move away from those formulations of nationalism that Azad develops a very different perspective of the nation and nationalism, positioning nationalism in what Amar Suhail terms as the third space. I don't think I have time for more. Do you want me to end now?
No, you have another 10 minutes.
Right. Okay. So just a moment. Right. So now the other thing that that comes from this formulations of nationalism is okay. So there are two things here. I don't think the first is we need to look at the afterlife of this argument. This is an important argument in terms of understanding of nation and nationalism. It's also important to ask as to why this formulation of nation and nationalism didn't make it. So that why was it that the ideas of Azad were then peripheralized after partition in particular? You see, there are 2-3 issues here. One is that one issue that we should be very attentive to is the issue of partition, and as to how partition distorted this whole narrative of the location of nationalism within what is known as the third space. But there is also this issue, it does have an afterlife, because you find people like Zakir Hussain, people like Humayun Kabir, developing a very similar perception of nationalism. But come today, we're not even conscious of this formulation of nationalism. So what I want to argue is that even as nationalism is about inclusion, it did exclude certain voices. There's an element of violence in terms of marginalization of certain voices, and perhaps Azad was one voice that was pushed aside in this march of progress and development. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Farhat Hassan, for that lucid talk on Maulana Azad's religious outlook, which had political overtones. Now, if you permit, we can take a couple of questions. Of course. Yeah, if there are any questions from the audience. You have a mic. You'll have to speak loud.
Keep the mic, and I can use this. This is working?
Yeah, it's working.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, ये क्वेश्चन नहीं, ये डाउट भी समझ सकते हैं, छोटा सा डाउट था। मौलाना आज़ाद साहब के बारे में जब भी डिस्कशन होता तो 1950 प्रेसिडेंशियल आर्डर भी याद करना बहुत ज़रूरी है सर। जब कमेटी सेटअप हुई थी तो उसमें उन्होंने मेंबर भी थे, और उस वक्त मुस्लिम को जो रिजर्वेशन था वो रिजर्वेशन रोक दिया गया। तो मौलाना आज़ाद साहब का एज ए मेंबर, एज ए मुस्लिम लीडर क्या रोल था, क्या वजह थी उनकी? दूसरी बात, जो मौलाना आज़ाद साहब को जो कांग्रेस पार्टी एक एज ए मुस्लिम आइकॉन यूज करी, क्या वो क्राइटेरिया आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस ऑल पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, हर पार्टी में मुस्लिम एक लीडर आइकॉन जैसा टोपी शेरवानी जो भी है एक मुस्लिम नाम पे वही लेगेसी यूज करना चाह रही क्या, ये मेरे डाउट्स थे सर। थैंक यू।
ओके, देखिए, जो जहाँ तक उनके सियासी या पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटीज का इशू है, तो एक एक गलतफहमी तो ये है डेफिनेटली कि इनके जो पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटीज थी वो गाइडेड थी बाय पीपल लाइक नेहरू एंड गांधी। गांधी से और नेहरू से उनका था एक बहुत डीप रुझान था, लेकिन दोनों से एज वी जस्ट सॉट बहुत बहुत बुनियादी इख्तिलाफात थे। जैसे जो 30 पेजेस इंडिया विंस फ्रीडम के अब आए हैं वजूद में, तो उससे लगता है कि जो जब नेहरू ने पार्टीशन को एक्सेप्ट किया तो सबसे बड़ा क्रिटिक उस फैसले का आज़ाद थे, और मतलब इतना गुस्सा था कि बिखर गए। तो ये नहीं कह सकते कि हर बात पे वो बिल्कुल जी हाँ कर रहे थे। गांधी से भी, गांधी की जो पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन वायलेंस है उसमें ही वाज वेरी क्लियर कि मेरा समझौता पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन वायलेंस से प्रैग्मेटिक है। प्रैग्मेटिक है कि हम गरीब लोग क्या लड़ पाएंगे इन लोगों से, आइडियोलॉजिकल नहीं है, बिल्कुल नहीं है। ज्यादती हो, ऑपरेशन हो, तो उसके खिलाफ कभी कभी वायलेंस ज़रूरी होता है। और हिस्ट्री की भी बहुत अच्छी अंडरस्टैंडिंग थी कि हिस्ट्री में बहुत पॉजिटिव आउटकम्स वायलेंस से ही अचीव हुए हैं। जैसे वो फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन को साइड करते हैं, फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन बहुत वायलेंट था बट इट अचीव रियल थिंग्स। सो ऐसा नहीं है कि वायलेंस बहुत बुरी चीज़ है हर हाल में। तो ऐसा ये सोच लेना कि बिल्कुल वो पिट्ठू थे और गांधी नेहरू जो कह रहे थे, ये एक पहलू है। दूसरा ये भी है, ये भी मानना पड़ेगा कि आज़ाद का अपना पॉलिटिकल बेस बहुत नैरो है, जिसकी वजह से उनकी कॉम्पिटेंस टू इन्वॉल्व इन पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटीज़ या जो नेशनलिस्ट लीडरशिप है उनके फैसलों को रिवर्स कर सकें, वो बहुत लिमिटेड थी। तो उसकी वजह से उनके जो डिसएग्रीमेंट्स हैं, उनके जो पॉइंट ऑफ व्यूज थे, वो कभी सरेआम नहीं हो पाए। दे वर नेवर पुट इनटू पब्लिक डिस्प्ले।
Any other question? If there are no questions, then should we proceed?
Yeah.
After such a brilliant talk, there is nothing much that I can say. This is working. After such a brilliant talk, there's nothing much that I have to say, but being the chair, I need to fulfill a responsibility given to me by Professor Hasnain as Professor Shagufta and Professor Rafiullah Azmi. In the early 20th century, we see that there were Indian thinkers who had started to think about, who were trying to engage with colonialism and modernity. And it is not that they were just involved in thinking about these aspects. They were also engaging themselves with issues that were important in the pre-colonial past, one of which was Maulana Azad. He was one of those thinkers. And in doing so, he wrote on a vast array of subjects such as art and historiography and religion and politics. And in doing that, he really tried to understand Islam very deeply. He was also at the same time trying to determine a role for the Muslim community in India, as very rightly said by Professor Hassan, of the Muslims participating in the freedom movement of India. And it is here that we see his role not just as a nationalist freedom fighter. He was in fact one of the main architects of the new nation that was forming in India. Here, I mean, Professor Hassan's talk about the religious angle coming out through the political overtones is very, it really hits the point on the head. Because there's one example I would like to give here of Maulana Azad being very sensitive to Aurangzeb. He didn't like the British colonial historians calling Aurangzeb as a harsh tyrant. At the same time, Maulana Azad was instrumental in even looking at Darashikoh with a lot of admiration. He liked his anti-sectarianism, his spiritual nature, his his appeal for Indic practices, all these kind of things. I just read a little bit about Maulana Azad before coming here, to be very honest, because I'm not any expert on Maulana Azad. And what I could find really was that in the Al-Hilal, when the Al-Hilal was launched, it was like a launching pad. It was like a platform which Maulana Azad really gave to the Muslim community in India. He was extolling them to join the freedom movement. He found it their Quranic obligation that, they should become part of the Indian national movement and put up a fight against British imperialism. Then another thing that I read, which struck me, was that when in 1919, when he wrote the Tazkira, at that time, that was the main character in that was Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi, who had spoken against Akbar's heresy. Now here also, he doesn't take the religious angle. Through a political kind of orientation, he's writing about these kind of religious things. This is exactly what Professor Farhat Hassan is trying to say, that it is the political overture that is really determining a religious kind of ideology that the Maulana was professing. And one last example I would like to give is that in 1940, when he gave the presidential address of the Indian National Congress in Bihar, at that time, he really spoke about secularism being the historic destiny of India. This is where he doesn't make any differentiation between Hindus and Muslims and their culture and their traditions, rituals, language, literature, poetry, everything was common. He speaks about composite nationalism. He speaks about secularism, and he completely condemns religious dogmatism. This is where we see that Maulana Azad's role in making India has been one of a very important one, of being one of the architects of the new nation of India. I thank Professor Hassan from the bottom of my heart for giving us such an enlightening lecture and opening up our vision for, looking at Maulana Azad with newer insight. Thank you, Professor Hassan. And this session ends here, but I request you all not to go, because we have another session starting now. And on the Springer publications, and the chair is Professor Shagufta Shaheen. After that, there will be a small break for tea. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your remarks and finishing it within time. May I request Professor Danish Moin to present vote of thanks. I want to tell you that after this session, there will be another session. We have with us Satwinder Kaurji. She is the senior editor, Springer. She will interact with the faculty members who are interested. They can join. Sir.
Thank you. Just a formality. I have to, and I've been, since I was on the stage, so it was a responsibility to say something. I'm paying for sitting on the stage. Okay, I must thanks to the chair, Maulana Azad, for organizing such a wonderful lecture. And my thanks is due to Professor Rafiullah Azmi, who is, of course, one of the important persons, because he is the head of department. He has accepted the proposal and he made it in. And a big thanks to Professor Farhat Hassan. For me, he's a Farhat Bhai. Farhat Hassan and Professor Salma Farooqi for agreeing to chair this session. Everybody is thankful. I'm thankful to each and everyone who has present here. Of course, all the senior faculty, Professor Afsar Alam, Professor Amna Tehsin, Professor Habib, and most important, Shagufta Shaheen is also her OSD1. She is also, I'm thankful to you that you spend time and coming to this lecture. But above all, the most important, above all, the thanks deserved by a student of this university, all the students who has participating in this thing. And for it, it is your enhance of your knowledge. You must have had number of lecture, but Farhat Hassan's lecture is one of the best lecture you have ever heard. I'm sure, because I also agreed. This is a very thought-provoking lecture, and I thanks to the IMC team for giving their time and all the technical staff who supported this. Thank you very much.
Very quickly, I want to make another announcement. As Sir has also said that Professor Farath will also join us on 20th 9th in the Department of History. And I guess he's going to speak on a theme which is part of his recent book, Voices in Verses, which is very important book as far as gender history and literature, Urdu literature is concerned. May I now request the technician team to play national anthem? Okay, sorry. Okay, after the second session. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Satwinder Kaur and I am a senior editor at Springer Nature, and I acquire books in the area of humanities and social sciences from South Asia and Middle East. I am here today to attend a conference that starts from tomorrow, but I'm glad to be part of this session as well and to gain insights from the eminent scholars. And history is one such area which I always, keep on trying to evolve from the South Asia region. So I will, of course, be meeting the eminent scholars right after this session. So I won't take much of your time. I will just walk you through the book publication process at Springer. I'll keep my presentation to the brief and want to make this session more interactive, so feel free to ask your questions. So to begin with, Springer is the largest academic book publisher in the area of humanities and social sciences and science, technology, and medicine. We publish more than 13,000 books each year, and out of 1.8 million articles submitted last year. These are some highlights from the year 2023, which were released in July. We published 420,000 articles. Most of the research work that we publish is also focused on SDG related content, and 53% of the content which has been published as articles is part of the SDG various goal. I mean, published under various SDGs goal. We have been rated as excellent or the good publishers by 90% authors based on the survey that we conducted. So these are my contents for my today's presentation. And I have listed, to begin with, why publish a book. So this is based on the survey that we conducted. There was various reasons being asked from the authors that what inspires them to publish a book. So these were the 3 reasons which stand out, that they want to publish a book to maintain a credibility among the academic fraternity, and also it kind of gives a boost to their career, because if they publish back to back in their area of expertise, people know them, they are being invited at the conferences to present their paper or to present their book. These are certain product categories I have listed. Each publisher has their own categories of books that they publish. The Springer publishes monograph, edited volumes, handbooks, and reference volumes. I will not take you through all the book product types, but brief you on the main product types that we publish. So monograph is a volume which is on a single scholarly subject, single scholarly area of research, or it could be an interdisciplinary topic by one author, or it could be co-authored volume. And the page count for monograph is usually between 150 to 200 pages, and it can go up to 250 pages as well. And edited volume, as the name itself suggests, that edited volume is the contributed volume, and it's research-based invited articles, which are often an outcome from the conferences that happen with the best papers presented at the conference. So in the edited volume, we expect the contributing authors to submit their chapters, which is coherent around one central theme. It could be the diverse perspectives or the contributions from various parts of the world, depending upon what the focus of the volume is. So the edited volume can focus on a geographical location. It could be focusing on India. It could be focused on South Asia or Middle East, South Asia or the global South. Apart from the edited volumes, edited volume page count is 250 to 300 pages, and it can also go up to 350 pages. Handbooks and the major reference books are the humongous volumes. Handbooks are basically 500 to more than 500 pages and can go up to 800 pages. This is the comprehensive volume on one single topic, the broad topic, and it can have 1 or 2 editors followed by various section editors with 25 to 30 chapters. And reference work is majorly focused on the tertiary literature, and the page count can go up to 1,000 to 1,500 pages. And there are atlases and encyclopedias that we published under the major reference work. And the steps to develop a strong book proposal form, to walk you through how does the publication process at Springer work, and what is it that I as an editor look out for when an author or a scholar approach me with a topic that the topic that they have in mind and they want to develop it further as a book volume. So the first thing that that we ask or we look out from the concept note that we receive from the author is the topic. How is the topic doing in terms of, are there major citations coming up, or the topic is something which there has been a lot of books published already, but the concept note that you have shared, it altogether covers a new, it kind of extends the debate which is already published, or you are adding a new angle to it. And we see the theoretical background of the work the topic that you have submitted, what is the overall research that you have taken, and how do you critically kind of evaluate or compare your work with the already published books or the literature available on that topic. Apart from that, the title and the keywords are equally important when you share your book proposal form with us. Anything which is too creative and not, doesn't include the keyword in the main title is something that kind of puts us off. So we want to see how does your topic, your research work is properly conveyed in the main title of the book, followed by the main keywords, which are also search engine optimized keywords, because when you write anything, it also has to appear on the first page of the Google search page. So if the keywords are such which are not convincing enough for the readers, your book will never appear on the first page of the Google search engine. So we also we kind of expect the authors, or we tell our authors, to think from a reader's point of view. What is it that reader would be looking out for when they want to reach to your book? These are some of the pointers that we look out for in a book proposal form. And of course, the detailed CV of the author, to see how much have you published on that topic on which you are proposing a book. If you haven't published any book, are there any related articles that you have published in the national or the international journals? Moving on to the peer review process. So once the book proposal form is received, we send the proposal out for peer review after having it internally evaluated. So we evaluate at various parameters, and if we find that the proposal is good enough to be sent out for the external review, we send it out for external review. And we followed single blind peer review process, where the reviewers know who their authors are, but you will never get to know who the reviewers were. And on the basis of 2 positive review reports, we sign an early contract with the author, and then leave it on you to decide by when the complete manuscript will be submitted. So not only the proposal which is being evaluated or externally sent out for review, it is the complete manuscript as well, which is sent out for review. And there are times when we turn down a book project for publication if the manuscript reviews are not positive, or if the reviews are polar, we go ahead and seek out another review on that proposal or on that book. So these are common pitfalls that I have listed here when we receive a proposal, and what are the reasons why we turn down a proposal when the scope of the volume is too broad, and it is it is too broad that it will cater to the multidisciplinary audience, and we are looking forward to cater to one particular discipline. We would want it to be narrow in a sense that it is relevant for the global audience as well, but not too broad in a sense that we are not able to find the audience. So having the audience, or understanding who your target audience is important. So if you are targeting students or the undergraduates or the postgraduates, perhaps textbook would be the right volume one should be writing. If you're writing for general audience, if your topic is such which will cater to the general audience, then Springer might as well not be the right publisher for you, because we cater to the higher education sector, higher education academic sector. And of course, the permission and the previously published material, something that when we receive a proposal, the authors sometimes do not disclose that they would be taking 2 chapters from the already published work. We prefer not publishing the republished work, because the citations have already been garnered on that particular chapter or the article. So it is better to disclose at the time of submitting your proposal whether you would be republishing any work in the book that you have shared with us. And sometimes the conferences, there are books that often an outcome from the conference, as I mentioned. So the conference usually has a lot of tracks, so proposing a volume with multiple tracks would not be an area of interest for us. It should coherent around one central theme, so that we can target it to the main audience or for the discipline, and the book becomes part of a particular packages under which the book is being sold. We also, in humanities and social sciences especially, I also welcome PhD thesis if those can be reformatted in a book form. And since theses are usually the longer versions and are limited to for the examiners or for the supervisors, but when it comes to the reformatting, the book caters to the wider audience. So if you are planning to reformat your thesis and the topic is such which will catch the global audience eye as well, so we offer to reformat your thesis, considering that you would be catering to the wider audience. The references, which are usually long when you work on the thesis, can be cut off when you are working on a book. Now, when it comes to the thesis, there is review of literature and the methodology section. There are various chapters which can be combined together in the introduction, followed by the thematic chapters. So the rationale of the book and the audience of the book and the structure is something that needs to be kept in mind when you are reformatting your thesis to a book. I have listed certain books here which can be used for reference in case you plan to, reformat your thesis in a book form. SEO is search engine optimization, which I have already discussed. So the title of the book has to be descriptive enough that it catches the attention of the readers and something that kind of entices the reader to look at the content of the volume. We would want you to if you want to go imaginary in the sense that you want to include main title, you want to keep the main title creative, but the subtitle should include the theme and the focus of the volume. And Google usually take only 60 characters of the title. So it is very important to be mindful of the title and including the keywords in the main title of the book. I have shown certain examples here how these books have done on the basis of their title. Now the first book is feminism. It is actually Mexican feminism in 35 years. So author missed the word Mexican and did not give the clear idea what the book is all about. So the book could not be found on the SEO and the first page of the search engine. Followed by these aggressors in blue, which is again an imaginary title at the bottom, followed by exposing police sexual misconduct, which talks about the theme or the focus of the main volume. So it is very important to stay mindful of the title when you're writing a book and including the main keywords in the main title and the subtitle. Now, when the proposal is being submitted, it is externally evaluated, and it takes 2.5 to 3 months, depending upon the availability of the reviewers, because reviewers do this for free, and depending upon their availability, we receive the review reports. If we sign an early contract, and after the contract is being signed and the manuscript is submitted to us, depending upon an author's schedule. And when the manuscript comes in, it is again sent out for review. That takes another 3 to 4 months because manuscripts are usually longer than the proposal alone. So once the manuscript is in with all the review reports and we are confident that we want to go ahead with the publication of the book, we also run it through the plagiarism software, the Authenticate, to check if there are any overlaps. If there are overlaps, these are sent back to the author to rework on those chapters. And if the overlaps are major, when we cannot include those chapters in the book, then it becomes a question whether to go ahead with the publication of that book or not. Something that we discuss it with the author, how to go about including that chapter in the book. So once the book is in production after all the checks, it takes 4 to 5 months for Springer to publish it both in print and online. So each book is available online as well as in print, and the flyers of the book and all the details about the book and how the book is doing in terms of the downloads and the citations can also be found on the Springer webpage. Now, this is something that I have mentioned. When the book is published, it is time for the authors to celebrate. And while we are doing our part by promoting your book, by advertising at various marketing campaigns or by showing it up and displaying it at the conferences we attend all around the world, it is also important for the authors to talk about their book or present their book at the conferences if they are talking on the same theme. Or social media is all the rage these days, so telling the book is out, so that, and sharing a link of the book so that it takes traffic to the book page and people are interested to know more about that book. So the benefits of publishing with Springer, the book has its own web page, as I said, and we have our social media platform as well, where the book is being promoted, although it is not possible to promote each and every book, given the fact we publish more than 13,000 books each year, but this is a kind of allocated among editors all around the world at Springer. But we do our promotion at our end, and we offer the author get the complimentary copies. If it is required, the book is required to be reviewed at any journal, we are happy to support the author as well. There are various author services like e-proofing tools and the style guides and the key and marking the corrections at the time of when the proofs are being sent to the authors. Those services are also provided by Springer. Now, open access, I'll very briefly talk about this. Open access, so we publish book as open access and non-open access. Non-open access is something that where the content stays behind the paywall and the reader can only read your abstract and the keywords and the table of contents. But when it is open access, each chapter can be downloaded for free, and it increases the citations and the downloads of your book because the book is available to anyone and everyone all around the world. And there are various licenses under which open access book is published. So Creative Commons has 6 licenses and Springer follows CC BY non-commercial and non-derivative. So there are certain rights and acknowledgements one has to make when someone else is using your work, while we accept all the licenses depending upon the funder's requirement. If an author has received funding from any organization and funder requirement is to follow a particular license, so we are pretty flexible with that as well. Now, all the books that we publish at Springer, they become part of ebook packages. Humanities and Social Sciences has range of packages for social sciences, history, philosophy, and religion. So all the books become part of the packages, and these books are then being advertised and being sold to universities all around the world. Now, these are certain topics I have included because I acquire in the area of humanities and social sciences. So for humanities and social sciences, these are certain topics that I look out for and I accept proposals on. And these topics are based on the basis of the articles which are getting or gaining a lot of tractions by visiting various journal websites on various disciplines, like in the education field or in the linguistic. We do publish a lot of book series as well, and how the book is doing, in which particular region the book is doing well. So on the basis of that, we arrive at the hot topics or the emerging topics in the area and then get in touch with the authors working in that field to write a book for Springer. So I have shared here certain topics, and the topics which I look out for, be it language policy or psycholinguistics or cognitive linguistics. These are certain areas where I'm always keen to explore books or to discuss the proposals further with the scholars. These are the books we have published in languages and linguistics, to give you a peek on the kind of books from India I have signed. And the books related to the education field, where we have published The Future of Higher Education in India and The Quality of Secondary Education in India. These are the downloads in humanities and social sciences. It's a mix of humanities and social sciences books, and the number that you see right below each book cover is the download count of the book, 12,000 and the 3,000 and 2,000. Now, research integrity and AI, very briefly about the research integrity and AI and artificial intelligence. So there are unethical practices that happen when you submit your work to any publisher, and those unethical practices usually happen sometimes due to the pressure to publish in high impact factor journal. And when there is a pressure to publish in high impact factor journal, scholars get enticed by the fake paper mills. I'm sure you must have heard of the term paper mills, which offers or which sells the manuscripts or the images as well, and they get scholars the review done, which is like a fake review done. So these are the all unethical practices which are which kind of leads the scholar to publish their work quickly with not so authentic sources. And unethical practices also also include the where you are fabricating your data, you are manipulating with the data, and you're plagiarizing someone else's content. So that's an academic form of copy and pasting, where there is one slide that hasn't come here. Okay, so plagiarism, where you are citing someone else, we're using someone else's work but not giving credit to that author. But even if you are giving credit to that author, but the content you have used is more than the permissible limit. So all these unethical practices kind of leads the publisher to retract the book from their website. So it kind of not only jeopardize the reputation of the publisher but also of the author as well. So the unethical behavior, why this happen, and then there are type of unethical behaviors like plagiarism and the data manipulation and the inappropriate citations as well. So the general advice would be, if you're using someone else's work, always ask the publisher what is the permissible limit to use someone else's work. If it is more than beyond it is beyond the limit, then it is better to take the permission, be it for the text or the image or the table that you're using. And it is important to have the source listed for image and figures. Now, Springer has its policy for the use of AI, for the generative AI. As long as you are not giving a prompt to the generative AI to write an article for you on the basis of your topic, we do not appreciate the generative AI article to be submitted, or the chapter to be submitted. But you can use AI to polish your grammar or to get clarity in what you have written. And if you have used the AI anywhere in your chapter, it should be acknowledged where it has been used, but not the complete chapter should be generated from AI. We also do not let our peer reviewers use AI, and there are strict instructions which are mentioned on our proposal form as well, that if you have used AI anywhere to review the manuscript, then we do not consider that review at all. And the image manipulation, if you want to, if there is an image required, it is advisable not to ask AI to generate image for you, because generative AI has content, it includes an open content from everywhere and has the high possibilities of copyright infringement. So it is better to either get permission from the right source from where the image has been taken or has been copied from. So that brings me to the end of my conversation. I have kept it brief, and I'm very happy to take your questions if there are any. Thank you so much for listening to me. Sure, no problem. That's fine.
Thank you so much, madam. And we would like to take some questions from the audience. Let me put my own question first,
Sure.
which is, what is exactly the time frame from the submission to the first peer review report?
Right. So when you submit a book proposal to us, and if let's say that I've received your book proposal form, and if I find it complete in all sense, where you have shared the competition of your book as well, and how does it add relevance to the global audience, it takes 2 weeks for us to get back to you whether the book proposal form is in perfect shape, and we are sending it out for review. And then it is sent out for review, and it takes, although I have said 2.5 months, it takes 1.5 to 2 months to get the proposal reviewed. So let's say you have shared something with me today, so maybe by mid-November is something you would expect from Springer to hear, to get a response on the initial proposal. So 1.5 to 2 months.
Any question from the audience? With regard to book publication, I'll just share with you my own thought on this, because as far as the academic world is concerned, there are certain points when it comes to career advancement scheme, and getting a book published carries 12 marks. 12
Yeah.
points rather. But getting a paper published in a peer-reviewed journal gets you more than that. So the focus is on publishing articles in peer-reviewed journals rather than on book publication.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So the entire academic world is geared towards publication in journals rather than in books.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, the young scholars sometimes they decide to kind of restructure their thesis to book. That is one thing. But then peer review, yes, of course, that is the focus, and it helps the university scholars and authors like you in your career advancement as well. As you said that there is a point based system. Now books are also indexed in Scopus, but given the fact it is different from journals in a sense that you submit your article in a journal which is already indexed in Scopus. That kind of gives you, if it gets accepted, then it's time for you to kind of celebrate in the beginning itself that yes, the article has been submitted and it will be indexed in Scopus. But not each book, although each book e-feeds are also sent to Scopus by the publishers. I mean, Springer also sent the ebook e-feeds to Scopus. But then it depends on upon their evaluation criteria which book they want to include in their database. And book series that we publish, so let's say the book series is like an umbrella of monographs and edited volumes. So these work like journals which are perennial in nature, and those book series are indexed in Scopus. So let's say that you have submitted your proposal to a book series, Asian Perspective on Public Health, which is indexed in Scopus. So ultimately all the book proposals that I receive will by default will be indexed in Scopus. So it will get you success. I mean, it's kind of writing a book, it's like a legacy work one is doing when one is not concerned majorly with the citation, not really the citations, but with their career advancement. But scholarly books are being referred for long and they have a long shelf life, while you are getting in a journal article you're getting an information. So like it's like a slice of a pizza in a form. I mean, in the journal article you get information or you get details about like a slice of a pizza, but when it comes to a book, it is you're getting an information of a whole pizza, wherein it's a comprehensive volume about one particular topic or one research area that you are doing.
So any question? I don't want to monopolize her entire time. I mean, I've already asked 2 questions. There's one more if you allow me to.
Sure.
What is exactly your take on inserting screen grabs? You know
Sorry?
what a screen grab is? A photograph, if I'm playing a film on a video on a computer, I can always take a snapshot and insert that. What exactly is Springer's take on using snapshots in a book?
We do, I mean, the source has to be mentioned. Then if you are mentioning the source, of course you have to get the permission from the owner of that video. If it is your own video, of course we understand that you can use it in your own book. But if you are taking a screen grab of someone else's video, of course it doesn't belong to you. So thus the permission then has to be obtained for that video. But if you do not want to obtain permission at all, you can always share a link. A link can always be shared in the manuscript where the permission is not required. But screen grab also calls for permissions.
Any question from the audience?
All right.
So thank you so much, madam.
Sure.
And
Thank you so
we
much.
can go for a very short break now.
Thank you, Ms. Satvinder Kaur, for bringing the opportunity to our door for publication. We are all, and somehow, I think, involved in getting ourselves published, either as teachers or as students. We are all wanting to get published, and I'm sure we all are aware that Springer is a very credible publication against all the predatory journals that we have been having. So I think I really thank you. I know you have been going through personally a lot of hiccups, but despite the fact that you've made it here, especially for our conference tomorrow, I'm sure our research scholars who are eager to get their PhD published, the thesis published, and also you'll help us in getting our proceedings published. Had we known you are coming, we would have also got our abstracts published through you. I also have a very personal interest in winding this up early because my team has been calling me, continuously because they want to take over the auditorium for tomorrow. So thank you for being here, all of you. I wish more scholars would have been here and made use of this opportunity to get published, and more teachers also. But whoever you're here, please make the best use of having Ms. Satvinder around here. Thank you so much.
Please. National Anthem. Let us stand for National Anthem. It is time to play. Please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे